Well, parents in LAUSD were wondering if there would be class today when they woke up, and they found out that yes, indeed, strike averted. The nation's second largest school district did in fact have these classes after the third of three unions that was trying to strike a deal with LAUSD got to where they needed to be with a tentative deal. LAUSD is talking about this in terms of SEIU Local 99, which helps custodians and other aspects of support staff, and of course UTLA and the administrators union as well. It was just hours before employees were set to walk off the job when they got to their deal. Joe Kwan gives us the latest.
Cheers and clapping as it was announced a strike had been avoided and school was back on for LA Unified School District campuses. That's after the final of three labor unions reached a tentative labor agreement. Described by one speaker as the closer, Mayor Karen Bass, who is running for re-election, stepped into the negotiation room to help get a deal done.
Although the city of Los Angeles, of course, has no direct jurisdiction over the school district, but my job is to fight for all Angelenos no matter what, for every kid, every teacher, every school worker, every parent, and we got the job done.
The tentative deal includes a 24% raise for members of the union representing school support staff, such as bus drivers, cafeteria workers, custodians, and special education assistants. The list also includes parent community reps like Heidi Malakis Hart.
I am so happy.
Who works for Carson High School. She says she's a liaison between parents, the school, and the district. This is how the raise would work.
7%, then we get paid 5%, and then 12%. This is a 3-year contract, so we're already in year and a half.
A portion of the raise would be applied retroactively. Some workers will also get a guarantee of at least 4-hour shifts a day and an increase in uniform and footwear allowances. Also, acting LAUSD Superintendent Andreas Chait says 220 or so IT support positions will be safe from layoffs. In February, the nation's second largest school district estimated a more than $750 million budget gap for next school year, blamed on lower enrollment, loss of pandemic benefits, and rising costs. So how does the district plan to pay for the plan?
First, we always start internally and looking at where our dollars are going. I know there's been a lot of dialogue around subcontracting, around using external services. So of course, we're taking a laser-like focus on what we can do there.
He also says the district will rely on state funding.
We also want to be collectively fierce advocates to Sacramento for the funding that our students frankly deserve and need.
But the state is also facing a budget gap. The governor's most recent proposed budget estimates the whole to be $2.9 billion. The nonpartisan State Legislative Analyst Office estimates revenues will be lower than expected and spending will be higher. So it says the state budget gap will be closer to $18 billion. Despite the numbers, the acting superintendent says he expects the state will come through with funding.
Based on what has been shared with us, we do.
The tentative agreement still has to be ratified by union members and approved by the LAUSD board, but school is on in the meantime. Students like Rachel Quevedo, who attends John Francis Polytechnic High School in Sun Valley, had mixed feelings about that.
It was kind of a disappointment because as a child, you obviously don't want to come to school, but we know it's important and we need our learning days.
For now, school remains in session for the district's nearly 400,000 students.
School's in session, but big questions as to where the money comes from. Here to help us break down the dynamics of the agreement and more is LAist education reporter Mariana Dale. Mariana, great to see you. A lot of parents had a long night waiting for this news. I imagine you were up late too, trying to see if this last deal was going to come down.
Yeah, I was. I just kept checking my phone, seeing when these updates were going to come through. And then it was at about 2 a.m. that SEIU Local 99 and the district announced that what was called an agreement in principle had been reached. The details still needed to be worked out, but the operative part was that schools would be open today on Tuesday. And then we got some more details in the press conference this morning.
And Mariana, you're talking about refreshing your phone. So many parents were doing exactly that. 2 of the 3 unions came to their agreement before last night. This third one, SEIU Local 99, as you mentioned, gets this deal in the middle of the night. And parents want to know why so last minute, because a lot of them booked help for today and weren't planning on sending their kids, and there was confusion. Many, of course, happy that school was back, but why so long?
Yeah, we knew this strike deadline had been coming for about a month at this point, and the district had continued to meet with the unions throughout this period. I had members who were in negotiations describe to me a lot of frustration. They came out from spring break when normally they would not have to be on school sites, and they bargained and told me they were really disappointed with what they saw from the district. But they said there started to be some more movement in the last week. They were offering more money that was going to help them get toward these salary increases they were hoping for. You had, like you mentioned, deals reached with administrators and United Teachers Los Angeles on Sunday. On Monday, they reconvened in the afternoon and were, my understanding is, presented with a lump sum from the district, but then had to go through and figure out, okay, how do these dollars translate to all of our priorities, which include helping more of our members get health care benefits for themselves and their family, helping them get more hours, and really helping increase the salaries for what are some of the lowest paid employees in the district. Local 99 members, those that work part-time, make an average of about $30,000 a year. That's before this new deal, and now they're looking at what's estimated to be a 24% increase. And I think it just took quite a lot of time and the intervention from the city's mayor to really get there.
And we'll talk about the mayor in a moment. They were asking for 30%, the union. They get 24%. And we can talk about the other unions. They're asking what they got as well. What's your sense overall? I mean, there's always a winner and a loser in a negotiation. Or are all parties essentially happy with the basic terms?
I think everyone is happy that schools are open, and you definitely felt a sense of relief from folks today as they were talking in the press conference. I think what I've observed as an education reporter is really a building of collective power between the labor unions in Los Angeles Unified. This year, you also had teachers unions across the state bargaining on a similar platform under this banner of "We Can't Wait." And I think, you know, there are still some residual feelings from the pandemic, particularly from members of SEIU Local 99, folks who were told that they were essential workers during the pandemic and have not seen their wages keep up with inflation and find it really challenging to live in Los Angeles. And I think it's also important to note that many members of SEIU Local 99 are also parents in the district as well.
Yeah, all great points ultimately, but we also know that these asks for more money come at a time when the district has been messaging around this deficit, this rolling 3-year deficit projecting out to $1.9 billion potentially 3 years from now. And the acting superintendent spoke a little bit about this because the question is, where does the money come from? Let's hear him and we can talk about it on the other side.
And I am clear-eyed about the challenges that lie ahead. You know, we've signed agreements with our workforce that honor the work that they do, that are in some cases will call on us as a leadership team to find resources, to really hone in on what's most important for our schools. And I think that will require, again, partnership between all of us.
So LAUSD projecting this deficit. There's going to be an ask, of course, of Sacramento. The May revise becomes part of this, the reserve fund. I mean, how are you looking at the money that's available and where this money is going to come from to increase all these wages for all these folks?
Yeah, so I think a couple of key dates. You mentioned the May revise. That's when we get an updated spending plan from California's governor. I think a couple of areas that school folks have been particularly concerned about is the cost of living increase. They have said what has been offered, I think it's about 2.4%, simply does not keep up with the increased cost of doing business. The other aspect is this proposal to withhold $5.6 billion of Proposition 98 funding. That is funding that is designated for both K-12 schools and community colleges, part of California law, and really saying that that money is going to be given to schools at a future date. The messaging from schools is that we need this funding right now. And concurrently, Los Angeles Unified is having to also create its own spending plan, not only for this year, but 2 years in the future. Last year, the district adopted what it called a fiscal stabilization plan. That included several options for saving money. That's where we got those information technology layoffs that were mentioned earlier. You've also had changes to policy where schools aren't carrying over funding from year to year. So it's possible we could see some more changes stemming from that fiscal stabilization plan.
Mariana, earlier you mentioned Mayor Bass as well. She doesn't have jurisdiction over this, but she did enter the chat, as they say, and she's taken some credit for making this happen. In a sentence or two, how much should we look at Mayor Bass's involvement, and did she in fact save the day?
So this is not the first time that Mayor Bass has intervened. She also intervened during a 3-day strike back in 2023. I think she comes to this as a politician, but also as a grandparent of an LAUSD student who was really hoping to go to school. Certainly the leaders of the unions gave her credit for helping get this deal across the finish line and really bringing more humanity to the bargaining table.
Yeah, and in an election year, I'm sure that's something that she appreciates as well. There'll be much more to make of the politics, the optics, and of course, the almighty dollar. Mariana, you're all over this stuff. I hope you get some sleep. Thanks so much. It's great to have you. Great reporting as always.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent to have you. Mariana Dale of LAist on that education beat. Kids are back in school. Yes, tomorrow too. More coming up. Stay with us. We'll be right back.